Captain Dae-ho Kim stood in the great meeting hall of the Galactic Council, wearing his best diplomatic smile. The massive room was filled with creatures from across the galaxy, all different shapes and sizes and colors. Some had wings, others had tentacles, and some looked like walking crystals. But all of them looked down on the humans who sat quietly at their small table in the corner. Ambassador Vexitar from the Christine Empire was talking again. His blue skin glowed brighter when he got excited, and his four eyes moved in different directions as he spoke. He was giving another long speech about how humans needed to behave better in galactic society. "Your species shows promise." Vextar said in his clicking language that the translation, "Machines turned into words, but you must learn restraint. Violence is what primitive species do. We have moved beyond such simple thoughts." Commander Sora Park sat next to Captain Kim. She kept her face calm and peaceful, but her hands gripped her electronic tablet harder than needed. The other humans at the table, Dr. Taemin Lee Engineer, Bo Young Choi, and Security Chief Hyun Woo Nam, all had the same patient looks on their faces. They had practiced these expressions for 3 long years. The truth was hidden behind their kind smiles. When Earth first made contact with the galaxy and asked to join the galactic community, they were told they could join, but only under special rules. Humans came from what the aliens called a death world, a planet so dangerous that the creatures living there became much stronger and tougher than normal. The council decided that humans were too dangerous to be trusted with full membership. The rules were simple. No military weapons except basic protection systems. No fighting sports or martial arts shows. No talking about Earth's violent history or how humans fought wars. They had to act like peaceful, gentle creatures who just happened to be a little bit stronger than average. For 3 years, humans had followed these rules perfectly. They became excellent explorers, going to dangerous places other species could not survive. They were good researchers and diplomats. Their tough bodies made them useful for risky science missions, and their ability to solve problems impressed many alien species. Most aliens thought humans were helpful but not special, stronger than some species but not dangerous to the Galactic Order, Captain. Kim nodded his head respectfully as Vextar finished his speech about how peace came from obeying stronger civilizations. "We appreciate your guidance, Ambassador. Humanity values the wisdom of our more experienced galactic neighbors." What Vextar and most of the galaxy did not know was that humans were choosing to be gentle. The kind scientists and diplomats they met were real parts of human nature, but they were only one side of a species that had survived on a world trying to kill them for millions of years. Dr. Lee stood up with a warm smile and showed his latest research on protection from cosmic radiation. "We have made some improvements to the standard protective systems used in deep space mining. Perhaps the Christian Empire would be interested in reviewing our findings." The humans in the room understood the real joke. The improvements Dr. Lee talked about were actually based on technology from Earth's military research into surviving nuclear wars. But when presented as innocent scientific progress, it was perfectly acceptable under the Council's restrictions. Behind their gentle faces, the humans remembered things the galaxy had never seen. They remembered when their ancestors fought with stone clubs, and when they built weapons that could destroy entire cities. They remembered wars that lasted years and battles that decided the fate of nations. They remembered because forgetting such things meant dying on a world that never stopped testing them. As the meeting ended, and the various alien delegates walked away, the human team kept their friendly behavior. They shook hands, tentacles, claws, and various other body parts with real warmth. They had grown to like many of their galactic neighbors, despite being treated like children. But something was about to change. In the far outer parts of the galaxy, something dark was moving. Something that would test every idea the galaxy had about the species from the small blue world they called Earth. The humans continued to smile and nod and be polite. But deep in their minds, they were still the apex predators of a world that had tried everything to kill them. They were still the species that had looked at a planet covered in poison air, deadly creatures, and natural disasters, and decided to make it their home. They were still the children of Earth, and Earth had taught them lessons the galaxy was about to learn. Captain Kim gathered his papers and prepared to leave another boring diplomatic meeting. He had no idea that in just a few months he would be standing before this same council asking permission to show the galaxy what humans really were when they stopped playing nice. What he did know was that humans had always been very good at adapting to new situations, and something told him that adaptation time was coming soon. The galaxy thought it new humans. They thought they were strong but gentle, tough but peaceful, useful but harmless. They were about to discover that when a Death World species chooses to be gentle, it is not because they cannot be anything else. It is because they have seen what happens when they are not gentle and they choose to be kind instead. But choices can change. And when they do, the galaxy would remember why some worlds are called Death Worlds, and why the species that survive them are watched so carefully. The day was coming when the Galactic Council would understand the difference between cannot fight and chooses not to fight. That day was closer than anyone knew. The emergency council session convened aboard the massive orbital platform above the Centauri Prime, the galactic capital. Representatives from 200 species filled the great chamber, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of clicks, chirps, telepathic harmonics, and translated speech. Captain Kim stood at the human delegation's podium, his usual diplomatic composure intact despite the dire circumstances. Around him, panic was barely contained as reports continued, flooding in about the Void Hunter's advance. "The situation is grave," announced Supreme Counselor Thexani, her crystalline form pulsing with stress-induced bioluminescence. "Our defensive fleets have been reduced by 60%. At current rates of loss, we estimate total defensive collapse within 14 standard cycles." Murmurs of fear rippled through the assembly. The Terranian representative's scales had turned a sickly yellow, while the gaseous ethereals flickered with distress patterns. "We must implement full evacuation protocols," declared General Zexkor of the militant Saurian Empire. "Withdraw to the core systems. Abandon the outer territories. It is our only option for species survival." Captain Kim felt Commander Park's encrypted message pulse on his personal communicator. Her request was simple but carried enormous implications. Permission to reveal humanity's true capabilities to save the galaxy. He stood slowly, requesting recognition from the council. As the chamber quieted, he could feel the weight of 3 years of careful relationship building, of humanity's painstakingly constructed reputation as helpful but harmless allies. "Honorable counselors," he began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation matrix, "I propose an alternative to evacuation." The chamber stirred with interest and skepticism. What could the humans possibly offer that the combined might of galactic civilization could not? "With respect," interrupted Ambassador Vextar, "humanity's contributions to our defensive efforts, while appreciated, are limited by your species' technological and military constraints. This is not the time for heroic gestures." Kim nodded respectfully, then activated his personal holographic display. The image that appeared showed not the gentle scientific vessels the galaxy associated with humanity, but something else entirely. Sleek, predatory shapes that radiated barely contained lethality. "These are Earth's actual defensive capabilities," Kim said quietly. "For 3 years we have operated under voluntary restrictions to maintain galactic peace and demonstrate our commitment to civilized conduct. We have hidden our true nature because we believed it was necessary for acceptance." The chamber fell silent as more images appeared. Massive industrial complexes, fleets of warships, weapons that incorporated principles the galaxy had never seen. The humans had been building, preparing, and restraining themselves while playing the role of junior partners in galactic civilization. "Your species has been deceiving us." Counselor Thexani's voice carried a note of betrayal. "No," Kim replied, firmly. "We have been protecting you. From us and from the knowledge of what a Death World species is truly capable of when survival is at stake." He paused, letting the implications settle. "Earth offers its full military capabilities to defend the galaxy. But understand this. If we unleash what we have held in check, there will be no going back to the way things were." General Zexkor's reptilian features showed confusion. You speak as if your small fleet could accomplish what our combined armadas cannot. Kim's smile carried no warmth. General, you've never seen humanity at war. You've seen us at peace, playing by rules designed to contain us. The Void Hunters are about to discover why Deathworld species are classified as they are. Through the chamber's viewing ports, emergency lighting from distant battles flickered like dying stars. The galaxy was running out of time, and humanity's long-maintained secret was about to be revealed whether the Council consented or not. The transformation began within hours of the Council's desperate approval. Across human space, industrial facilities that had been disguised as research stations revealed their true purpose. Shipyards that had appeared to produce simple cargo, vessels began launching craft that made the galaxy's most advanced warships look like children's toys. Admiral Kang stood on the bridge of the EFS Indomitable, humanity's first revealed dreadnought, watching as his fleet emerged from hyperspace. At the edge of the contested zone, around him, officers worked with the fluid precision of a species that had spent centuries perfecting the art of warfare. Tactical assessment, he ordered Commander Yi Jun Han, his chief of staff. Void Hunter fleet strength approximately 3,000 vessels, Admiral. They've established a beachhead in the Proxima system and are converting local asteroids into construction facilities. Admiral Kang nodded, studying the holographic display. The Void Hunters had followed their standard pattern: overwhelming initial assault, rapid resource conversion, and geometric expansion. It had worked against every species they'd encountered because galactic military doctrine was based on defense and attrition. Humanity had developed different ideas about warfare during their violent climb to civilization. Signal the fleet, Kang ordered. Operation Earthstorm is authorized, all vessels weapons free. What followed challenged every assumption the galaxy had made about combat in space. Human warships didn't engage in the traditional long-range bombardments favored by most species. Instead, they closed to point-blank range with impossible speed and agility, their hulls reinforced beyond galactic standards to survive impacts that would cripple other vessels. Captain Wu Jin Seo, commanding the destroyer Soul's Fury, led his squadron in a maneuver that would have been considered suicidal by galactic standards. They flew directly through a Void Hunter formation, close enough that their ship's hulls scraped against enemy vessels, firing at ranges measured in meters rather than kilometers. Direct hit on Target 7, reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Hana Moon. Their hull integrity is failing. Good, Seo replied grimly. Remember, these things adapt quickly. We can't give them time to analyze our tactics. The human approach to space combat reflected their death world origins. Where other species saw the vacuum of space as a hostile environment requiring careful protection, humans treated it as just another battlefield to be conquered. Their ships were built like the humans themselves, tough, adaptable, and willing to take damage to deliver decisive strikes. But the real revelation came when the Void Hunters attempted their standard response to unexpected resistance, swarming attacks designed to overwhelm through sheer numbers. Admiral Kang smiled grimly as his sensors detected the massive enemy fleet movement. Signal all units, implement Pattern Alpha 7. What the Void Hunters encountered next was something they had never faced in 2 centuries of conquest, a species that fought back with coordinated savagery. Human fleets didn't just defend positions, they hunted. Ships worked in pack formations, isolating enemy vessels and destroying them with focused firepower before moving to the next target. The battle raged for 18 hours, and when it ended, the Void Hunter beachhead had been completely eliminated. But more importantly, humanity had demonstrated something that sent shockwaves through both the enemy and the galaxy's observers. They didn't just fight to survive, they fought to win. 6 months later, the galaxy was a different place. The Void Hunters had been pushed back beyond the galactic rim, their expansion fleet shattered by humanity's relentless pursuit. But the cost of victory extended far beyond casualties and damaged ships. Captain Kim stood once again before the Galactic Council, but the chamber's atmosphere had changed completely. Where once there had been condescension and casual dismissal, now there was wariness, respect, and in some cases, barely concealed fear. The immediate crisis has passed, he reported to the assembled representatives. The Void Hunter fleet has been neutralized, and their remaining forces have withdrawn to territories beyond our current defensive perimeter. Counselor Thexani's crystalline form pulsed with complex patterns of light, gratitude mixed with concern. The Council acknowledges humanity's decisive contribution to galactic security. However, we must now address the implications of recent revelations. Kim nodded. This conversation had been inevitable from the moment humans revealed their true capabilities. The galaxy had learned that the species they'd treated as junior partners possessed military technology and tactical doctrines that surpassed anything in known space. We understand the concern, Kim replied. The question before us is how to proceed. Humanity has no desire for conquest or domination. We revealed our capabilities out of necessity, not ambition. Ambassador Vextar, his previous arrogance replaced by careful respect, spoke up. But surely you understand our position. Your species' true nature changes everything. The balance of power, established trade relationships, territorial agreements, all must be reconsidered. Perhaps, Kim agreed. But consider this. For 3 years, we possessed these capabilities while operating under your restrictions. We could have revealed ourselves at any time, could have demanded recognition commensurate with our abilities. Instead, we chose restraint. He paused, letting the implication settle. The difference between a Deathworld species and a conqueror isn't capability, it's choice. We chose to be your partners rather than your masters. That choice remains, unchanged. Commander Park, now promoted to Admiral and serving as humanity's military liaison to the Council, stepped forward. The protocols we established during the crisis will remain in effect. Human military assets will be available for galactic defense but under strict oversight, and only in response to existential threats. Dr. Lee, speaking for the scientific community, added, Our research sharing programs will continue, though, obviously with new classifications for certain technologies. We believe cooperation remains more beneficial than competition. The chamber was quiet as delegates processed humanity's proposal. They were offering to return to something like the previous arrangement, but with full disclosure and appropriate recognition of their capabilities. General Zexkor, who had fought alongside human forces during the final battles, spoke with grudging admiration. Your species fights with honor, even in victory. The Saurian Empire supports continued partnership. One by one, other delegates voiced similar sentiments. Fear remained, but it was balanced by gratitude and the recognition that humanity's restraint was genuine. As the session concluded, Kim reflected on how much had changed. Humanity was no longer the galaxy's junior partner, tolerated for their useful durability and pleasant demeanor. They were now recognized as what they had always been. A species shaped by a violent world into something capable of both great gentleness and terrible fury. The galaxy had learned that Deathworlders earned their classification not through casual brutality, but through the hard-won ability to be gentle by choice rather than nature. And in learning that lesson, both humanity and their galactic neighbors had discovered something valuable, that true strength lay not in the capacity for violence, but in the wisdom to know when such capacity should be unleashed. The day Deathworlders stopped playing clean had become the day the galaxy learned what playing clean really meant, not the absence of strength but its careful, deliberate control in service of something greater than conquest. In the end, it was a lesson that every species would remember, and humanity's greatest victory was that they had won not just a war, but the right to remain who they had always chosen to be, protectors rather than predators, guardians rather than conquerors. The galaxy was safer now, and humanity had found their true place within it, not as subjects or overlords, but as the guardians who stood watch against the dark between the stars. 3 months later, alarms screamed through the Kepler station, humanity's primary research outpost in the Andromeda sector. Commander Park rushed into the communications center where Lieutenant Jin-A Yoon was frantically coordinating with multiple galactic emergency frequencies. Report, Park ordered, her diplomatic training temporarily set aside in favor of military efficiency that came as naturally as breathing. It's the Void Hunters, ma'am. Yoon replied, her face pale. They've broken through the galactic perimeter. 7 systems have gone dark in the past 6 hours. The Council's defensive fleets are being destroyed faster than they can respond. The Void Hunters were the galaxy's nightmare, a nomadic species of cybernetic beings that consumed entire civilizations, converting organic matter into fuel for their ever-expanding fleet. They had been contained beyond the galactic rim for over 2 centuries, held back by massive defensive installations and the combined might of the major galactic powers. Park's blood ran cold as she processed the tactical display. The Council's strategy was entirely defensive, focused on containment and attrition. It had worked for centuries, but now something had changed. The Void Hunters were moving with unprecedented coordination and firepower. "Ma'am," Yoon continued, "we're receiving evacuation orders. All non-essential personnel are to withdraw to core systems immediately. The Council is implementing Protocol 7, full retreat to fortified positions." Engineer Choi looked up from her console, her expression grim. "Commander, at their current rate of advance, they'll reach the inhabited systems within weeks. The Council's defensive doctrine isn't designed for this kind of breakthrough." Park felt a familiar weight settling on her shoulders. The same sensation she'd experienced years ago during Earth's final continental wars, before First Contact had changed everything. The weight of command, of lives hanging in the balance, of decisions that would echo through history. "Patch me through to Earth Command," she ordered. "Priority Alpha encryption." Within minutes, she was speaking directly to Admiral Sung-Ho Kang, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, and one of the few people who knew the true extent of humanity's capabilities. "Admiral," Park began, "request permission to lift operational restrictions under Emergency Protocol Omega." There was a long pause. Emergency Protocol Omega had never been used. It was humanity's acknowledgement that sometimes, playing by galactic rules meant allowing civilizations to die. "Denied, Commander," Admiral Kang replied finally. "Maintain current operational parameters. Earth's position in the galactic community cannot be compromised." Park closed her eyes, feeling the weight of 3 years of careful diplomacy pressing down on her. But as she opened them and saw the tactical display showing entire systems going dark, another weight pressed heavier, the weight of watching civilizations die while having the power to help. "Understood, Admiral," she said quietly. "Park out," she turned to her team, seeing her own conflict reflected in their faces. They were soldiers, scientists, and explorers, but above all, they were human. And humans had a particular inability to stand by while others suffered, regardless of the consequences, to themselves. "Ginny," she said finally, "send a message to Captain Kim on the diplomatic vessel. Tell him we need an emergency council session. And Bo Young, start running diagnostics on our defensive systems, all of them." "Ma'am?" Choi asked, catching the UBI's emphasis. Park's smile was sharp, carrying the edge of something the galaxy had never seen from humanity. "Just the ones the Council knows about for now."